She was born with a big black mark on her face. Her parents' reaction when they saw her is astonishing. A baby's birth ought to always be joyous and stunning. However, the parents of a baby who was born with a large, odd black mark on her face had an absolutely horrific reaction. Like any other couple, Lacey and Andrew Jackson had a nice enough house where they lived. In fact, Lindsay and Andrew were perfectly normal. They had 2 children together, Elliot and Devine, during their many years of marriage. Like any other family from anywhere in the world, they would quarrel, fight, and have fun. But they had no idea that one day something less than ordinary would happen one day. Something happened to turn their lives upside down. Lacey discovered that she was pregnant. As soon as possible, she began living a way of life that protected the health of their unborn child. She was aware that if she took care of herself, the baby would be born strong and healthy. The doctor appeared extremely pleased with what they saw during their initial scan when the couple arrived. The infant appeared to be in good health and was growing properly. Its number was correct. The baby had the right number of fingers and toes, as well as a cute little face, but the biggest news of all was that she was a girl. Andrew and Lacey were overjoyed. They hadn't even considered what gender. All they wanted was for the infant to be healthy. Additionally, a girl would complete their ideal little family. Everyone was excited about the new addition to the Jackson family and anticipated her arrival. They really would be the Jackson 5. But would the delivery go as smoothly as the pregnancy, or would Lacey and Andrew be in for an unexpected surprise? They continued to follow the story after their daughter was born because, as it turns out, Lacey's pregnancy was a complete breeze. The big day eventually arrived, and she and Andrew ended up in the maternity ward of the hospital. As Lacey began to push and the doctors assisted in the delivery of the baby, Lacey fought valiantly while firmly holding Andrew's hand the entire time. It all started to feel very real as the head slowly began to emerge. They had chosen the name and everything else. Their daughter would be named Natalie. However, as they were removing the infant from Lacey's body, they realized that something wasn't right. Natalie's face had a noticeable dark mark on one side. It was obvious and unattractive. When the parents first saw it, they initially believed it to be a birthing-related injury, but upon closer inspection, they discovered it to be a sizable mark on the infant's skin. Thankfully, Natalie was fine, but that didn't change the fact that she was, for lack of a better word, deformed. Was this dream going to become their nightmare? Lacey and Andrew wondered as their hearts began to sink a little. As they were being returned to the maternity ward, Andrew and Lacey turned to look at Natalie as a strange sense of horror began to override their happiness. In the maternity ward that evening, Lacey and Andrew could hear murmurs coming from the other mothers. Natalie's mark unfortunately appeared to be on the larger side. They were all discussing how awful the black mark was and how they could never raise a child who was as plain-looking and deformed as Natalie. Neither Lacey nor Andrew could deny that the talk affected them as they whispered disparagingly and even laughed about the poor little baby and her appearance. But what could they do? Could they raise a child who is so unusual and different? The parents' decision was finally made after several long and difficult days. It turned out that Lacey and Andrew made the decision to love her despite everything. Natalie was a helpless little girl at the end of the day. She had done nothing wrong and was simply born with a peculiar facial mark. They didn't care how their little girl appeared on the outside because it wouldn't affect who she would become as an adult. They proudly picked up their baby girl, cuddled her, and made a promise to never let her down. In the week following Natalie's birth, her parents took her to see an ophthalmologist, a doctor who specializes in the diagnosis of eye disorders. They also took the child to a dermatologist and a skin specialist and had her undergo an MRI scan to make sure the birthmark was not harming her vision. Because of the disorder, the poor girl might face health risks. However, her parents choose their daughter's black spot to be as it is. But for the rest of her life, Lacey and Andrew would have to keep an eye on their daughter to make sure nothing altered or went wrong. The doctor continued by saying that although the girl's skin in that area would likely become drier and flakier and be unsightly, it would probably be okay. Fortunately, Natalie continued to grow up to be a joyful and healthy girl despite having a very noticeable facial mark.